Good morning, everyone. In the last session, we discussed about the one of the important example called method reference here. Now, what we need to understand here, if you go to this particular main class, now here you can see what we are doing here, my array operation, and here I'm calling the method called count matching. And another one is same the my array operation count matching. But here we are passing integer value and here we are passing this particular string value. So even though we are working with the method references, but using this particular generic concept here, how we can provide the method reference with the dynamic behavior here. So this is what we discussed in the last session. So today we'll try to identify another important concept to call constructor reference here. How this constructor reference is going to work. So basically constructor reference is nothing but it is a similar way of method reference. So normal cases what we will do if I want to call the constructor. Now if I want to call the constructor in the basic example, now what we will do, we'll try to define the class name. Okay, we'll try to define the class name and reference variable. After this, now we'll use this particular new keyword and we'll call the constructor. So this is the basic simple format we are going to use to create a constructor. But using this particular, like in the 1.8, we are having constructor reference. Now using this constructor reference, how we are going to provide the constructor creation. So with the help of this particular double colon, now we are going to call the specified constructor, whatever the constructor we want to call, like how many parameters constructor we want to call, we can call. Now here we will specify the class name. Okay, and here we'll specify the new keyword. Here we are going to specify the new keyword, so that this new keyword, it will try to create the constructor of which type. This is the special class type here. This is the special class type. Now another important section what you need to understand here. For example, I want to call the two parameters constructor. Now how we are going to call here? Now again, the constructor reference also internally, it is going to depend on the functional interface, because functional interface, the method is take care of the parameter of the constructor related. For example, the constructor is we are trying to pass the two parameter, but the functional interface method is trying to expecting only one parameter. Now in that case, how we are going to handle? Getting the point. Now what we discussed in the last sessions, basically even if you are working with the lambda expressions, method references concept as well as constructor reference. Now the functional interface is going to play an important role here. Now the functional interface method parameter should match with lambda method reference or the particular constructor references here. So this is very important here. Now let's observe simple example how this particular constructor reference is going to be work. So to understand this, now what I'm doing it, now here whatever the my function we discuss here. Okay, this is the my function, but internally what happening, it is trying to return the boolean. But now this particular constructor reference, it is not going to return the boolean. It will try to return the class type here. It will try to return the class type. For example, I'm trying to create a class here. So this is the class object we want to create using this particular constructor reference. Now here you can see, so my class, under this particular my class, private variable, like a private data type we are using. Now here, so int is a data type, private is one of the our access modifier we are using, so that outside we cannot access this particular variable here. Okay, so this is we identified. Now another important one, my class. My class is a constructor. Now it is expecting one parameter. Okay, it is expecting one parameter. Now what I'm doing is I'm trying to initializing the local variable with the instance variable. Now after this, my class, and this is a default constructor, now is equals to 0. Now these are the two constructor. First constructor is expecting parameter. Second constructor, it is not expecting any parameter here. Okay, so finally we'll call the one method, get value method. It will try to return this particular value here. Okay, this particular get value method, it will try to return the current value, which we are going to store from the constructor reference here. So this is the class we are going to use. Now, if you observe carefully, I want to call this particular constructor, or I want to call this particular constructor. Now, using the constructor reference, how we are going to call? Okay. Now, if without using this particular constructor reference, normally what we will do, we'll create an object of this particular my class. By calling this particular constructor, whatever you are interested, we are going to call this, either this particular default constructor as well as the parameters. But now, so coming to this particular constructor reference, now what I am doing is one more functional interface. So why we need to create a functional interface? The references are going to be used with help of this particular functional interface itself. Okay, now so this is the constructor function. Now constructor function, it will try to return as a my class. Okay, now what is the method? Function is the method. Now I'm trying to define parameter. So carefully observe here, this particular function, now it is trying to return as a class type. This particular method now, it is trying to return as a class type. Earlier, whatever the functions we discussed here, all the functions, those are not going to return as a class type. So those methods, basically based on our requirement, it will try to return as the specified data type here. But this particular functional interface, it is trying to return as a class type here. Now we identified this. After this, I am going for the constructor demo. Okay, constructor demo. Now here what we can do, main method. So under this particular main method, now I want to call this particular constructor reference. So if you observe how I am trying to call, what is the name of the functional interface here? So something like a constructor function. Now using this particular constructor function, here my class double colon new. So carefully observe here, this particular concept, this particular concept, we'll call it as a constructor reference. Now what I'm doing here I'm trying to providing the class name. After the class name, we are having double colon, and after this we are calling this particular new keyword. Now, so which constructor is going to execute? So to understand which constructor is going to execute, here I'm going to write the message here, like a print statement, parameter constructor, okay, and here default constructor. Default constructor. Now we'll identify which constructor is going to call now. Okay, after calling this particular constructor, I want to call the method here. So which method we want to call? Here we are having get value method. Here we are having get value method. Now we want to call this get value method so that it will try to return as all the get values here. All the get values related section here. Now go to this constructor demo, and here constructor function dot function. Now here I'm passing 45 value. I'm calling the particular functional interface method. I'm calling the functional interface method here. But if we observe carefully, the functional interface method as of now, it is not yet implemented. So just we declare here. Now this type of method, if it is declared, how we are going to call? Basically in the normal cases, if the method is not implemented, we'll get a compilation error. Because the method should implement with help of this particular body here. Here we are going to write the implementation code here. But currently, if you see here, this method is not implemented. Just it is declare here. Now, this declare method, what we are doing here, we are calling from this particular constructor demo. We are calling from this particular constructor demo. Now, what you need to understand here, even though the method is declared, still we are able to call this particular method here because of this particular concept to call constructor reference here. Now, this particular function, it is going to be implemented based on the whatever the constructor we are going to call here. Okay, so at runtime, this method is going to be implemented here. Now finally, what do we need to understand here? Whenever I'm calling this particular function method, now it is trying to return as a my class object here. Using my class object, now I'm going to call the get value here. So that whatever we are passing, the particular get value, it will return here. Okay, now here you can see, finally I'm calling the get value section. Now here, whenever I'm trying to execute here, the 45, which is going to return from the get value. But here you can see parameter constructor. How this parameter constructor is called? How this parameter constructor is called? This is very important here. Here if you see, here we are not passing any constructor information. Just we are providing the new keyword. The new keyword, what it will do? It will try to create an object here. It will try to create an object. So how it is creating an object here? With help of this particular functional interface. If the functional interface is not there, so with help of this particular constructor reference, we are not going to create an object here, because all the method reference are constructor reference internally, so those are going to use functional interface here. Okay, so this is very important here. Now, if you want to call this particular constructor, currently we identified this constructor is executed. But what about this particular constructor? What about this particular constructor? Now what you can do here, if you go to this particular constructor function, remove this parameter. Okay, remove this particular parameter here, the method parameter. Now coming back to here, remove this 45. Remove this particular 45. Now you can call the same example. Now if you see, default constructor we are calling and value is 0. By default, so the integer value is 0. Explicitly, we are not providing any values here. Okay, because of this, the default value is 0. Earlier, we call the parameter constructor. Now you see, earlier we call this particular parameter constructor. Now we call this particular default constructor. So this is the differences. Now what you understand here? Basically, the constructor parameters are depending on the functional interface method parameter. If the functional interface method does not match with the constructor parameter, now you will get an error. For example, here we are having. Now what I will do? Now I am going to provide the int value 1 into value 2. Okay. Now here you can see what you need to understand here. So whenever I'm modifying the function parameters here, now we are getting an error. Now if I click on this, now what happening basically here, this new operator, now it is not able to understand here. Why the new operator is not able to understand? Because functional interface method is expecting 2 parameters, but in our class we don't have the 2 parameterized constructor. We are having only 1 parameterized constructor. Okay, we are having only 1 parameterized constructor. Because of this, now we are getting a compilation error. Now if what you understand here, the functional interface function, it is depending on this particular constructor references here. Okay, so this is important here. Now either you need to pass another parameter, either you need to pass this particular parameter. Now so go to the constructor demo, provide the parameter. First one 45, second one is 63. First one is 45, second one is 63. Now what we can do here, you can print these 2 parameters. parameter 1 value. So this is a V, and second one is value 2. Now here I am going to replace with the parameter 2. Okay, so this is what we need to understand. Now I am going to run the same example. Now whenever I am running, it will print the 2 parameter information. So first one is 45, second one is 63. But why we are getting this 45 here? Because here we are calling this particular get value method. Because of this particular get value method, this is a 45 it is returning here. So this is all about the important section about the constructor reference. So any questions regarding this particular constructor reference? Okay. Now, so these are about the so the 1.8 lambda related changes we discuss here from the previous class and to today class here. Now we need to understand the what are the predefined interfaces, like what are the predefined functional interfaces. So functional interface basically it contains only one method, getting the pen, and along other than this particular one method we are not going to define any other methods here. So the first functional interface here, if I show you, so this is the predicate. Now if you see predicate internally, it is a generic type here. Now here we are able to see the T here. Now if you go to this particular predicate, now observe carefully, we are using the generic type here. Okay, we are using this particular generic type so that we can pass any data type here. Now here, this is the Boolean method. This is the Boolean method. Now we are trying to check this particular test. The name of the method as a test. Internally, what is expecting a parameter? Whatever the object type you are going to pass, the same object type it is expecting here. Same object type it is expecting here. Now this is a default method. Now if you see, this method is a one abstract method, but this method is a default method. Now this is also one default method, and these are the default method. Now if you see, default method we are having as well as static method, but there is no abstract method. There is no abstract method. How many abstract method we are having? One and only one abstract method. But default and static method, as what like how many we can create a default and a static method here. But here, if you are trying to create a more than one abstract method, compiler will give a problem. Compiler cannot understand which method I want to execute. Okay, so because of this, now even though this particular predicate is a predefined, but still they are following the one abstract method here. Getting the point. Now currently whatever we discuss here, this is also same. This is also, we'll call it as a one of the functional interface here. Now we define only one abstract method. For example, if I'm trying to come up with one more method. Now here I'm trying to remove the one parameter. But if you see, now if you see what is saying here, if I remove this particular predicate, here we are getting an error because the constructor reference now will get in a dilemma which method I want to call. Getting the point? Which method I want to call here. So because of this, the functional interface, we are going to define only one abstract method. Now you can define any default method. So those default methods are going to be implemented after calling this particular constructor related stuff here. How we can create the default methods here? So it's a simple one. Create a default keyword. Okay, this is, we'll call it as a default here. But what is expecting here? It is expecting the my class. Now my class is the return type. Now what we can do? Create a object and return here. Create an object and return. So this is what we need to understand here. Okay. Now same way, now if you see this particular predicate, What is saying? To find out any Boolean types here. Whenever you are trying to perform the operation, you want to find out any Boolean related type, then we can go for this particular predicate. Then we can go for this particular predicate and perform the operations here. Okay, but this particular predefined functional interface we'll discuss in our upcoming collection related classes whenever we are trying to discuss here. But as of now, so observe the how many predefined functional interfaces we are having here. So number of predefined functional interfaces are introduced here, but we'll try to discuss one by one here. Okay, now another one is function. Now this function is also internally one of the functional interface. Now you can see, so this particular function is expecting two parameters. So these are the two generic type parameter. First one is type, second one is return type here. Now what is the type we are providing here? Here we are providing the type. Now whenever we are providing the type, internally it will try to return the value. So based on the logic, whatever we are going to implement with the help of this particular lambda or method references. So that based on that, it will try to return the particular return type here. And here, if you observe, this apply is also one abstract method. This apply is also one abstract method, but now remaining are default methods. Default methods are static methods here. Default methods are static methods here. But now what you understand is, whenever we want to create a functional interface, it should be one and only one, the abstract method here. You can create any number of default and static methods here. Okay, we'll identify how many we are having predefined functional interfaces here. So in the 1.8, number of predefined interfaces are created here. Now we'll discuss whenever we are trying to discuss about the collection related example. Okay, now so if you want to come up with a simple example, we'll try to add one simple example regarding this particular the predefined functional interface here. So how we are going to write here? Now I'm commenting this constructor reference example, and here function, first parameter is integer, second parameter as well integer. So two parameter, like the generic type parameter is expecting 2. Now I created these two as a integers only. Now after this, so this is the factorial. But if you observe carefully, now here we need to understand very important section. This particular functional interface called function is having the one method called apply. Internally, apply method is expecting the one parameter. So if you see here, this is an apply method, but it is expecting one parameter. Now whenever it is expecting the parameter, how we will pass here? When we are trying to work with the lambda, you should provide like this. You should provide the parameter like this. Now after this, what I'm trying to provide here, now I want to provide the return type here, because apply method now it is expecting the return type also. So what is the return type of the data type we provided here? Integer. So expecting the value integer. Now in the two cases we are expecting only same data type here. Now we'll see how we can find out this particular factorial. In the previous example also we already identified, but still I'm trying to explaining same with a predefined functional interface here. Now here int I is equals to 0, I less than or equals to n, and I plus plus. Now here result plus is equals to I multiply with the result here. So now after this, I'm trying to return this particular result here. We should provide 1. Okay. Now after this, what we will do, we'll call the sysout factorial dot apply method. Now, which factorial you want to find out? For example, if I give 3, for example, if I'm trying to give this particular 3, what is the factorial of this particular 3 it will return? How much time, like how many times this particular loop is going to repeat it? Each time it will try to multiply with the current value. Now we are getting as a, now what we are getting as a here? 24 here. Okay, so this is what we need to understand here. Now here if you see, okay, something, it should not start with 0. It should start with 1 here. Because the first iteration will become 0. Now here you can see 24 value we are getting here. Now basically what exactly it is doing here, it is trying to repeat this particular loop multiple times whenever the condition is going to be satisfied here. So what is the I value? Currently 1. Now next time 2, next time 3. Now it is satisfying. Now whenever we are so going for the next iteration, I value will become 4. It will come out of this particular loop here. But here for each time I am multiplying with the result value. Now first case I multiply with I. So I multiply with the result is nothing but 1 multiply 1. The result is 1. From the second onwards, now, so now what is doing it? So again with help of this particular 1 we are storing into this result here. After this, okay, here not needed this one. The plus symbol is not needed because again it is doing the same addition here. Now here I multiplication of result. First time is 1, second time is 2, third time is 6 here. So this is we are expecting here. Because of the plus, now it is going for the 24 here. But this is the factorial of this particular 3 here. Now same thing if I'm going to provide something like a 5. Now here you can see 120. Okay. Because if you understand little bit, now run it in the debug mode. Now we'll try to identify how it is functioning. First one is I value 1. We are checking what is the n value currently we are passing 3. Now check the condition. What is the condition? We can check it. I value how much here? I value 1 less than or equals to 3. Condition is going to be satisfied. Now result is 1 and I is also 1. Now 1 multiply 1. The result will become 1 only. Here you can see the result. So you are getting only 1. Now second iteration, how the condition is satisfied? 2. So 2 less than or equals to 3. Condition is satisfied. After this result. Now 3. Now here you can see 3 less than or equals to 3. Condition is also satisfied. Now result is stored into this particular result variable. Now whenever we reach here I value 4 less than or equals to 3, this particular section it is returning false here. Condition is not satisfied. Now whenever the condition is not satisfied, it will not go to the line number 14, directly come from line number 15. So here you can see coming back to the line number 15. Now from the line number 15 it will try to print to the line number 17, whatever we are having currently under this particular sys out here. Now here you can see 6 value. Now again same thing we are repeating for this particular 5. Now n value is 5. So same we can check it. 1 less than or equals to 5. So 2 less than or equals to 5. Okay, 3 less than or equals to 5. And 4 less than or equals to 5. And 5 less than or equals to 5. The last it up to this. Now how many times it is repeating here? First, second, third, fourth and fifth times. Now whenever we are backing here 6 less than or equals to 5, this will become false. This will become false here. So this is what we need to understand here. This is what we need to understand here. Now same thing if I am trying to repeat here. So observe carefully. First time is repeating. Second time it is repeating. Here you can see I value 2. Now I value 3. I value 4. And I value 5. Now it is coming out of this particular loop here. Whenever the I value 6, now we are coming out here. So result value 120. The same result we are trying to print from this particular line number 18 println method. Now go to the console. Here you can see 6 and 120 here. So this is what we need to understand here. Okay, this is what we need to understand regarding this particular predefined functional interface here. So same thing you can work on the another one is predicate. Predicate, it is trying to return as a boolean. So if it is trying to return as a boolean, how we can write a simple example? So instead of working with this particular factorial, it is a simple one. Predicate, the type I'm giving as an integer. Now go for the predicate here. So it is expecting any parameter? Yes, it is expecting. Now you can provide the parameter. Now here what you can do, simply n modulo of 2 equals to 0. So you can write this particular condition. Now what we are doing here, we are checking the even and odd numbers here. So how we can check this particular even and odd numbers here? Predicate dot, what is that method we are having? Test method. For example, if I'm giving 13, okay, so we'll try to print in the using this particular print statement here. Now 13 is a even number or odd number. If it is a even number, we'll get as a true. Otherwise, we'll get as a false here. Now you can see it is returning false. It is not a even number. Okay, for example, if I'm trying to give as a 10 here, now you can see it is trying to return as a true. So this type of example, we can go for this particular predicate related. Whatever the example you want to write, which is going to return as a boolean type, then you can go for this particular predicate. And another case, you can go for this particular function. Now, along with these two, we have a additional predefined methods also. So that we'll try to discuss in our upcoming classes whenever we are trying to work with the collection frameworks. So these are all about the important section. So still any questions? Okay. Now here, what you need to understand here, I want to discuss about the string related section here. So as of now, we come up with a multiple example, but so far we did not discuss about the string related concept here. Now, so whatever we discuss up to here, these are the 1.8 related changes here, but string is introducing from the 1.0 onwards here, but we need to understand what is the use of this particular string and how we can create an object, what are the different type of constructors we are having, and what are the different type of methods we are having to work with this particular string here. Okay, now along with this particular string, we have a two other classes, string buffer and string builder. So those also we'll try to discuss once we completed this particular string examples here. Now observe here, basically what we need to understand here in Java, string basically it is a one of the sequence of characters. Sequence of character is nothing but f is a one character, a is a one character. Okay, now this, if I'm going to calculate this particular all the sequence of characters, we'll call it as a string here. Getting the point? Now it's something like a group of characters. So these are the group of characters now which we can store as a string object here. Getting the point? Internally, all the characters are going to be grouped to create a string object here. Now, so whenever you want to create this type of behavior, now we can go for this particular string object here. Basically, so this is a string internally is also use the object type here, because internally all the classes, as we know, we are going to extend from this particular object class here. But what we need to understand here, string is also one of the object class here. It is not a predefined class. So predefined classes means int is a predefined keyword. Okay, but integer is not a predefined class. Integer, it is a wrapper class. Integer is not something like it is a object type here. So same way, string is also one of the object type here. Whenever I'm saying the object type, we'll try to create a object for this particular class. Whenever I'm saying the predefined, so we are not going to create an object here. We are not going to create a object. So this is what we need to understand here. Getting the point? Now, Here, so using this particular string, now we are going to call the predefined method, because string is a one of the final class. Now if you see, so this is a class I'm trying to discuss here. Now if you go to this particular string class, here it is a one of the final class here. So whenever we are making the class as a final, we are not going to work with any inheritance mechanism here. This class is not going to be extended to any other classes here. So for those classes, basically what we will do, we'll make a class as a final. But here, now, this thing is going to behave whatever the integer classes, whatever the double classes we discuss. The way of object creation is same, but it will have a different type of constructor. Based on our requirement here, we can go and create a different type of constructors here. Okay. Now here, this string is having multiple method to compare the string. Getting it? So such something, store something, or if I want to do concatenation, like if I want to add two string objects, we are having some more methods here. So these are the different type of methods we are having under this particular string class. Based on our requirement here, we can go for the each and every method. Now we'll see each and every method, what is the behavior of each method, how it's going to work internally here. Okay, first we'll focus more about the object creation. First, we need to focus about the object creation. So once we are familiar with object creation, now we can call the each and every method. But here, what we need to understand here, basically, whenever we are trying to create a string object, now the object is not going to be changed here. So once the object is created, now we are not going to be changed. Now if you want to change, now what we can do, you may come up with a different reference name here. Getting the point? So different to reference name. If you are trying to follow the same reference here, you are not going to get the updated information here. So as long as if you modify the name of the reference here. Okay. So this is one of the important section we need to understand from this particular string class here. Now, and here, so another important section basically, whenever you are trying to creating your version, like whenever you're trying to create a string object internally, it will try to follow the some version mechanism here. Now once you modify the object, here, now, so version, if it is changed here, you can work with like you will get the modified information. If the version is not changed here, you are not going to get the whatever the latest changes you made. Now how the versions are going to be changed? Whenever you come up with a new variable or new reference variable. So this is one of the important section we need to understand from this particular string class. But original object still it is not changed here. Okay. Now if you see, I'm trying to create a, okay, instead of doing this, we'll go for the one class itself here. We can identify how this particular string is going to be behavior. So come out of the lambda expression. Now create a one package, something like a string. So capital S we cannot create because capital S is the name of the class name here. Now, string demo. So this is the demo class we are going to create for this particular all the string related operations here. Now if you see, so this is the class name. Now S is a reference variable. Now here you can see, now I'm calling default constructor. Now I'm calling default constructor. Now after calling this, what are the methods we are having? So these many methods we are having currently under this particular string class. So we'll see one by one method how it is going to be used internally. But now what we need to focus here. For example, here I'm trying to providing string demo. Now what you need to understand, these are the group of characters. The group of characters we are providing, so that whenever we are providing this group of characters, now internally it will try to create as a string object here. Now for example, if I'm going to print this particular S here, if I'm going to print this particular S here, now what we will get basically here we are getting a string demo. So how we are getting this particular string demo? While creating a string object, now I'm passing a constructor with this particular string message. Now if you see here, this is the original string it is going to be called here. Now internally we are trying to providing value, hash code and some coder related section. Okay, these are the class level variable. We'll discuss later, but what you need to understand here, the value now it is going to store here. The value now it will store whatever we provided under this particular this dot value variable here. Okay, now this is the one constructor. Now if you see below, one more constructor we are having. One more constructor. This is also public constructor. Now what is saying here? What is saying here? Basically here we need to provide the character related array. Character related array. So how we can provide this particular character related array? Now if you observe, so this is the character related array I'm providing. And how we can create here? Something like A, something like B, and something like a C. So these are the three characters I provided. Now, so if I'm trying to create a new string, here we can provide the CH here. Here we can provide the CH like this. Now, if we observe, the first one is expecting string as a parameter. Second one is expecting char array. Now, how I'm trying to create a char array? Using this particular array values, like group of characters here. Now, what happens internally? So, if I print this particular S2, you will get the string object. It is not a character here. Now, you can see ABC. Okay, it is trying to return as a ABC. Earlier, the string demo we defined. Now, for example, S2 is equals to I given as a test here. So this is we'll discuss later. The double quotes, within the double quotes, now I'm trying to give this particular test here. But now, if I print this particular S2, now what you understand here? Earlier, this S2, this particular S2, it is come up with a ABC. Okay. Now, this particular S2, now it is replaced with this particular test here. So, this particular concept we'll call it as a string literal. This string literal basically what is doing it? Internally, whatever the, within this double quotes, whatever the message we provided here, based on this particular message, it will try to create an object. Now, it will assign to this particular variable here. Now, what about the existing variable? What about this particular existing S2 no longer is available? So it is override with the current values here. Okay, it is overridden with this particular current values. Now this is the another important section we need to understand. Now if we observe carefully here, another one S is equals to something like a new test here. Something like a new test. Now here, if I'm trying to print this also, now what happens internally? This will also, it's going to override with the, initially we are providing string demo, but currently now I'm trying to print with this particular new test here. The string demo, now it is replaced with this particular new test here. Okay, but now if you observe carefully, here, so what I'm doing here, I'm trying to call the method called concat here. Now, again, I'm trying to print this particular same S here. Same S. Now, carefully observe here, whenever I'm calling this particular method, now we are not getting the expected result. Getting the point? Whenever we are trying to call the method, we are not expecting the same result. Earlier, what we expect here, new test here. But if you see the last statement, still it is trying to print a string demo. Still it is trying to print this particular string demo. So why it is printing? Because here, so whenever we are providing this particular behavior, internally it will try to create an object. Okay, but here it is not going to create an object. So this S already created, object is already created. One method we are calling by passing this particular parameter. Okay, but after this particular method execution, you need to come up with one new variable here. You need to come up with this particular new variable. Now, if you see, if I'm trying to providing this particular S1, if I'm trying to providing this particular S1, now what you are able to see, string demo. Along with this particular string demo, now you are able to see new test also. New test also, now you are able to see. But earlier, whenever I'm trying to print this particular S, what happens internally? We could not get this particular newly added message here. Why? Because once an object is created, it is not going to be changed here. So this is the new object creation. So this is also new object creation. But using the same variable, now what I'm doing here I'm trying to recreate a object. Here I'm trying to recreating an object here. But here, this particular line number 11, I'm not going to recreate an object here. I'm trying to call the one method. I'm trying to call this particular method by providing this particular parameter values here. By providing this particular parameter values here. Now, after providing this, because of object is not going to change here, now what happening? We are not able to find out the latest changes object. But once I provided into the another variable, now internally what it will do? It will create a new object. It will copy the existing object with a new object whatever we are going to provide. So this is what we need to understand here. This is the way the string is going to work internally here. Okay. Now we need to understand the one constructor. This is the one constructor here. It is going to take string as a parameter. String is nothing but we'll try to provide the value within the double quotes as a group of characters here. Okay. Now this is the one constructor. Second one is we are providing group of characters using this particular char array. Internally it is converting as a string object here. Now what about the other constructors? Like if you see this we identified. Now this also we identified here. Now this is the default constructor. This is the default constructor. Now what is doing it? So double quotes. Within this particular double quotes, now we are calling the value. The value as of now, if the within the double quotes, if you are not providing any value, so those will treat as a empty. Those will treat as a empty here. So this is all about the important section we need to understand here. Now after this, now coming back to the three constructors here, the fourth one. Now you can see, so this is the public string. Name of the constructor name is string. Now is expecting these many parameters. Now it is expecting these many parameters. Now, what exactly it is expecting these particular parameters here? Now, offset. So, what exactly this particular offset is saying? What exactly what offset is saying? So, if you understand this, here, if you read this, so it is going to allocate a new string that contains a character from this particular sub array. Okay. Now what is saying here? It is going to create a new string object based on the range of this particular characters here. Now how I'm going to provide the range here? The first parameter is offset here. Offset basically what is doing it is the index of the first character from which index we want to copy the element. Okay. From which index we want to copy. And what about this particular count here? Count is going to provide the length. Length is nothing but how many elements we want to copy. How many elements we want to copy. So this is all about the important section about this particular constructor. Now we'll see how we can call this type of constructor. To call this type of constructor, now what I'm doing here, okay, in below we can write string str is equals to new string. Now first parameter ch. So ch here I'm trying to create a few more characters. Okay, few more characters I'm trying to create here. If you observe carefully, how many I created? Now 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So around the size is 7. Now what I will do here? Now what I will do here? I'm going to provide the ch first parameter. Now second parameter. Now go to this particular string class. Now first parameter we are providing array. Now what about this particular second? Now what is saying this particular second here? From which index onwards we want to copy? From which index onwards we want to copy? We need to provide the index number. Now currently I want to copy from this particular D. Currently I want to copy from this particular D. So what is the index here? Now 0, 1, 2 and 3. From third index I want to copy this particular value. But how many values I want to copy? To the end year. Okay, up to this particular last year. Now here, what is the last index we are having currently? Directly you can provide the number. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6 here. So this particular 6 number we can provide here. This particular 6 number you can provide. Now this object is going to create here. Now after this, if you print this particular S3, what is saying internally? Based on the range, whatever the range we provided, based on this particular range, now it is creating. Now if you see, now offset is 3, count is 6. But what we provided here? Length is 7. Length is 7. We are getting an exception here. Now what is an exception is saying? So to understand this exception, so why we are getting an exception here? So this is, now first what I will do, I will copy this exception. Okay, I will copy this exception. Now we'll go to the debug here. Now inside the debug, click on this particular red color arrows here. Okay, I think we can keep this. Now Java exception with the breakpoint here. Now I'm handling this catch block here. Now if you see, now this is the same example. Now I'm running in the debug mode. So that now what you understand here, if you see offset, what we give an offset value? 3. From where this offset is loading here? Now here you can see this is the offset value we given. Okay, now go back here. Now count here. What is the count here? What is the count here? From where this count is coming here? 6. Now if you go to here, now I'm trying to give this particular 6 here. Count we are giving as a 6 here. So 6 is nothing but we are trying to copy the 6th element. But how many we are having here? How many we are having here? Now we'll see that one. But if you see the length, what is the length? Length is 7. How we are getting this length here? So if you see this, here we are passing the length here. Here we are getting this length, value dot length here. From where we are getting this particular value? Here. Value, how many we are passing here? So A, B, C, last to the G here. So these are the characters we are passing here. Now from here character we are loading the length. So that is trying to return as a 7. Now internally, so same value, offset and count we are passing. Now if you see here, what is checking? Offset. If the offset is less than 0, now it will throw an exception this, or whatever the count you provided, if the count also less than 0, now you will get a same exception, or here offset is greater than this particular length here. Offset is greater than length minus count. What is the length we are having here? Length we are having 7, count we are having 6. So if I'm doing the subtraction, we'll get to 1. But if I'm doing, so the offset is a more value. How many we give an offset? 3. Because of this also now satisfying the condition. Now what you understand this particular exception here? Basically, count to basically how many elements we want to copy. How many elements we want to copy, that we need to provide. So I'm stopping this one. Now we'll see the same string demo. Now here you can see count. I cannot give the count because starting with So starting 3 here, 0, 1, 2 and 3. Here it is going to start. How many we are trying to copy? 1, 2, 3, 4. So for example, if I am giving 4. Okay. Now we'll see what happens here. Now if you see, so these are the 4 characters. These are the 4 characters are going to be loaded here. Getting the point? So this is what we need to understand here. Any questions on this particular current constructor? Okay. Now, what is the advantage of this particular constructor? Basically, if we want to load specified characters, whether it is a beginning or ending or middle character, then we can go for this particular offset and counter related, so that in between characters only now we are going to load. For example, I don't want to load 4 here. I want to load only 3 here. Now, if you see this particular constructor, what is doing it? DEF only these three characters are going to be loaded as a string here. This is the constructor important information. So far, first constructor we identified, which is expecting the string. Second one we identified character array related constructor. The third constructor, even though we are passing the character array, but if we want to load only the specified characters, in that case now we can go for this particular constructor here. This is what the third constructor is saying. Now another one, okay, here you can see this is the third constructor we identified. Now we'll ignore this because it is a private static constructor. The private constructors basically we are not going to call from outside here. Okay, so we'll focus on all the public constructors here. We'll focus more about the public constructor. Now coming below, like if we come down here, now this is the one more constructor. Getting the point? Now you can see this is the one more constructor we are having, but what is the difference between above constructor and this particular constructor? Here we are passing the integer array, like we are passing int array. Now above method, here you can see, here we are passing this particular character related here. So this is the first parameter is difference here. Now remaining two methods are same. Now we'll see how we can pass this particular integer related values here. Now, so carefully observe whenever I'm passing this particular integer related, how this particular string is going to be written. Now, for example, here I want to create a int AR is equals to 97 comma 98 comma 99 comma something like 100. So 4 values I given. Okay. Now after providing this particular 4 values, here I'm passing AR. Okay. So this is we identified here. Now whenever we are passing here, now what we can do? So offset. Now from which element we want to copy? I want to copy all the elements. So I can give the 0. What about this particular count? How many we want to copy here? The copy basically here I want to copy all the values. Okay, I want to copy all the values. Now let me run this example. Let me run this example. What is returning here? ABCD it is returning. But if you see here, I given the numbers here. Getting the point? Here I given numbers, but the result I am getting as a string here. The result I am getting as a string here. So how we are getting this numbers as a string here? Because internally, what exactly this constructor is doing here? Now observe carefully. So this is a constructor we call here code points. Now we provided the offset as well as count here, how many values we want to load here. Now, so finally what we identified here, if this particular count is 0, okay, if the length is 0, getting the point, if the length is 0, now what we are doing is we are trying to identify the empty record here. We are trying to identifying this particular empty records here. Now, if it is an empty record, we'll try to perform the value and the coder. We'll return it here. But now another important section here, we are going to check this compact to string. Now, what exactly it is doing here? Now, if you see, we are checking this particular boolean here. But what we are doing here? This is a static block. This static block we already discussed. This static block is going to load whenever this class is going to loaded. By default, what is the value we are providing? The compact string here, we are providing as a true here. We are providing as a true. Whenever we are providing as a true, now this condition is going to be satisfied. This particular condition is, it is going to be satisfied. So once this particular condition is going to be satisfied, now what we are doing is, using this particular method, we are trying to converting into bytes here. We are trying to converting into bytes. So this particular method basically, first it will connect to the ASCII table based on the integer value, based on the whatever the integer value we provided. What it will do? It will try to convert into the character. Now once it is converted, now it will try to create the string related object here. So these are the steps are happening internally. Okay. Now what you understand here, even though we are providing this particular integer value internally, because of this particular ASCII table, now whatever the character is going to identify, that character is going to return and it will convert it into the string object here. This is the behavior of this particular constructor here, whatever the constructor we are discussing here. Okay, for example here 88. Now the last character, like last number I given as a 88 here. Now if you see, so this character we may get as a uppercase one. So the ABCD, these are the lower cases, like a small ABCDs. Now this is a capital X we are getting here. But why we are getting? Because 88 now it is available under this particular number. Now after this, now I'm going to give as a some 95. Random number I'm trying to give here. Now you will see what is the value we are going to get here. Now here you can see underscore we are getting. So this is the conversion is going to take care of string here. Even though if you are interested, you can provide this type of number related constructor, convert into the string. Now what about the another constructor? What about this particular another constructor? Now we discuss about this type of constructor. Now we need to identify this is the another one. Now if you see, so by default it is saying this particular ASCII values. Whatever the ASCII value you are providing, so same thing. It will convert it again into the string type here. Okay, so using this particular, we are having different type of formatter. If any one of the formatter is satisfied, it will convert the value into string object. But here it is also same here. Whatever we discussed for the integer related one, this is also same. Now coming back to the below, now what we can identify here. Now what is saying here? Here also it's providing the only two parameters constructor. First one is byte array, second one is integer number. Now what is saying this particular high bytes here? Now if you see here, we can read this particular information. It will give you the what exactly this parameter is going to do. Okay, this parameter, what exactly it is going to do. This is the information here we can see here. So now if you see, the top 8 bits are 16-bit Unicodes, Unicode, whatever this particular section here. Based on the 8-bit or 16-bit, the values are going to be converted here. So this is something like a conversion logic. What is the value you want to provide? Either 8 or 16 here. So because of this, now this is the parameter we are going to use here. But mainly we'll not use this integer related constructor because we don't know what is exactly the ASCII value of this particular character here. In that case, what we can do, directly we can go for this particular string related constructor or character related constructor here. Okay. Now coming down here, this is also same, the byte related constructor we are having. Finally, it will do the same. It will try to return as a string object. Now this is a one more byte related, but what is the difference here? Here we are providing char set name. Here we are providing char set name. So we are checking if the char set name is null. Now we are trying to throw in a null pointer exception. Now if it is not null, it is doing the same here. Now string coding, decoding here. Like so encoding and decoding behavior stuff it is doing it. So this is also same. Here what we are passing character, but above we are passing string related. This is the differences between these two here. Now again this is also one constructor. It is expecting only two parameters, but internally it will copy these two, offset 0, length. From 0 to whatever the length of values we are going to have, those will be converted into the string object here. So we'll identify these are the byte related constructors. And now if you see, most of them are byte related constructor because the byte it will take easily to convert the numbers into the string because of this particular the same table whatever we are trying to discuss about the ASCII table. Now one more constructor we are having which is expecting the string buffer, but as of now we did not discuss about this particular string buffer constructor. We'll see once we completed this particular string related example. Now the last one is, now here you can see string builder. Now this is the one more constructor. Now we'll identify whenever we are discussing about this particular string buffer related as well as string builder related concepts here. But here you can see string builder introduced 1.5 onwards, but string buffer from the 1.0 onwards it is available. Okay, so this is all about the string related constructors here. Now any questions regarding the constructor whatever I explained? Okay. Now, if you don't have, so I'm stopping the session up to here. So tomorrow we'll discuss about the methods here. What are the methods we are having in the string class? Now, how each and every method it is going to be useful here. Okay. So those method will continue tomorrow. So most probably we'll complete the string related concepts tomorrow. We'll start the string buffer. Okay. So still anyone having any questions regarding our the entire today session? Okay. So if you don't have anything, so we'll continue tomorrow.